Yo.
Yo.
Sorry.
Oh,
my bad.
Wrong show. Oh.
Caught me playing with my figures. Hey, what's going on? How you doing, man?
What is up, Morbius, man? How are you, man?
Good, brother. Happy Tuesday. Tuesday.
Hell yeah, man. We're back again with another comic relief, episode 13.
Wow.
So yeah,
lucky 13.
We're flying, man. We are flying. Yeah. Everybody here, welcome. This is the show that we talk about some hot topics, some uncomfortable topics, some things that other people may not necessarily feel comfortable talking about within the comic book hobby and industry. That's what we like to do here. We always like to clarify, we are not professionals. We do this for fun. We are basing everything on our own experiences. We're not here to call anybody out or say anyone's wrong. These are just our our preferences and how we see, the hobby as a whole. So, I like to clarify that every week, just in case we get some newcomers in that are like, who are these two? What do they think they know?
Who do they think they are?
Exactly. We're having fun. We're here to learn. We're here to help other people learn. So it's all a good time. We have a guest as always, right? We've been bringing on guests now in a row for past 8 times.
Let's do it.
So we got my man Dan, aka Comic Chop News, who's part of the Tag Team Thursday crew that meets with us every Thursday. So let me bring Dan on here. Dan, what's up, man?
Hey, what's up, y'all? Thanks for having me on with this.
Hell yeah, man.
Thank you for coming on, man.
Absolutely. So anybody watching right now, I put all the information, Dan, your description, or in the description below, I put Dan's links to his YouTube channel as well as his Instagram page. So make sure you guys are following him there. And as I mentioned, Tag Team Thursday is one of the many shows that Dan does along with other book clubs and things like that. So definitely check Dan out. And of course, I put Morbius's information there. We need to get this man to 100 for YouTube, man. We got to get you there, man. We got to get you there. I know you're working on your content. You got things in the work right now.
I got a lot of stuff coming. I got a lot of stuff. I got my intro done. I'm so excited. Nice. I got a lot of stuff coming, man. As y'all can see, I got like a bunch of gaps on the wall. I'm reworking the wall. I'm trying to get it ready.
Nice.
You know what I mean?
Get the background ready. I love it, man. I love it. Get the people on, man. All right, real quick, I want to run through the chat here and just say a quick hello to everybody. We got 16 people hanging with us right now, and then we'll dive into the topic. Comics Kings, Brandon hanging out with it. He says, "Look at these 3 studs." That's right, man. We're sharing the same screen. We got Unruly Simeon. Peace, brother. Good to see you. We got Sheena in the house.
Sheena, what's good, homegirl?
We got my man Bricks. What's going on, Bricks?
Bricks in the building.
Claiming Comics, aka Jason. Thanks for stopping in. We got Jennifer hanging out with us as well.
Hi.
Hello. Louis Logic hanging with us as well. What's going on, Louis?
Thank you.
We got my man, Steve, Hip Hops and Me with Team Third. He was just a guest on here a couple weeks ago.
What's good, brother?
Good to see you. Uncanny Swag, always hanging in the chat. Appreciate you, bro.
Good. Thank you, brother.
Top of the Pops. Hello. Thanks for stopping in. We also got Flash by Night. What's up, community?
What's good, brother?
Always a pleasure to see you. We got Fuzzy Dunlop. Hello, Fuzzy. I love that name, man.
I know, right? So dope.
Love that name. Poor Mike. What is up, Mike? Good to see you, man.
What's going on, Mike?
Let's see. The chat just jumped a little bit. We got PJ, of course, Paul Morris. He was a guest of ours not too long ago as well. Good to see you, Paul.
We're gonna be cracking some slabs on Thursday with Paul.
Oh man, I just saw him cracking some
slabs. You know me and Paul, we love cracking slabs. So
you guys are crazy, man.
Slabs on Thursday.
Eric Station, brother.
What's going on?
Let's see. I think we got Vincent here hanging out with us. What's going on, Vincent?
What's going on?
We got my man David. What is up, David? Good to see you. All right, guys. I think we got everybody. If you guys are new, make sure you hit that thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you are new, and make sure you're subbed up to these 2 gentlemen as well. We have a unique topic tonight that kind of covers a lot of different areas, and we're going to go in as many directions as we have time for. So to generalize everything. Oh, my bad. Were you gonna say more? We got a cheers, bro.
We got cheers, man.
I get excited. I jump right into things.
I know you do. It's okay. It's okay.
If Dan didn't have work, he'd be joining us.
I know.
Yes, I would.
Us, all right?
Dan drinks the good stuff too, man.
Salute, guys.
Yeah, I mean, I got a Scotch and movie stream I do once a month now.
Yeah, man, I like that.
Nice.
He's got the good bottles.
Nice.
We got Fable in the House Station and Something Wong also.
Good.
What up? All right, so the topic I had put on the thumbnail old readers versus new readers. It probably could be changed around. I kind of rushed it. We were still kind of defining what this topic was going to be exactly. I also don't want to defend or offend anybody who take old in a certain aspect or a certain way. I would say it's more experienced, right? Experience, because you could be very young, like these two gentlemen here. You can be very young and be very experienced. You know,
exactly.
You whippersnapper. So the main point of this whole topic, just generally speaking, is comparing the thought of like how older readers may perceive certain things about the hobby, about how they go about collecting, how they go about reading, what their expectations are for certain characters, for certain stories, maybe stories that have been told in the past versus what is coming out in today's world, different types of collecting, things like that. So we're going to touch on a couple different angles of this. And so, and feel free, in the chat, leave a comment there. We'll light it up and address it. But I guess I'm going to send it to you more first to kind of give your overall thoughts. Because again, we all kind of thought different things, I think, when we first jumped on. So I want you to go in the direction you initially prepared for, and then we can go in any direction.
Just to clarify, guys, so we were talking about the topic of today. We, like you said, we're talking about old readers, new readers per se. So I took it in the sense of an overall as a collector. As being somebody who's been collecting for over 30 years and, who came from that old school type of collecting mind state, like, before CGC, before, internet, before all that stuff, where you had just Wizard to go look at what's coming out. You know what I mean? Right. Right then.
Oh, like, Valiant, everything Valiant.
So that's all we had, to go hunt down what's the next, big thing that's coming down the pipeline. So, so to me, that's the way I took it, in that sense, because if anybody didn't see it last week, go watch the replay, because we kind of touched on this topic, with JR, and we were like, just talking about it a little, because we were just saying like, hey, it's a different mind state now, the way from how my perspective is, it's just, it's definitely different, because you look at like a child, you look at a kid who grows up, let's say with an iPhone, you know what I mean? To them, that immediate gratification is a norm. There's nothing that's not new to them.
They didn't have to wait for anything in that sense.
Right. Yeah. They don't have to wait for nothing. It's just right there and then, but to me, it's different, because like I see it as it takes away that, yes, you get that immediate, satisfaction, but it takes away from so much experience, so many stories that could go with that. And let's say for a hunt, you go online now, you go to eBay, boom, you just buy the book, done. You could pull out a book here and I'll tell you a story about how I went on the hunt for that book. Right. How my boy came with me, how we ended up, meeting a girl, or he got hooked up with some shorty because we were on the train on our way down, some crazy story, or getting stuck at the bus stop in the rain. And like we were talking last week, you had to hide your books under your shirt, hoping they don't get wet, and just a bunch of stuff that, that I could relate to as a, let's say an older head, right. and that's the way I took it as far as, this whole chat about, older reader, new reader.
Right.
And also it does touch it, like you guys were touching up on a lot of stuff about characters and storylines that have changed or has progressed differently or has been taken to a different direction.
Yeah.
That's pretty interesting too. I didn't actually think about that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I totally saw it another way,
Totally.
So I'm curious to say with you guys. I'm really curious. So Dan, passing it over to you. Let me know.
Much like Morbius, I'm a 35-year-old reader. I'm 45 now, so I've been collecting since I was like 9 or 10. Hitting the corner store, my mom was doing laundry, so she'd get me to shut up. Mm-hmm. Get an X-Men book, sit in the corner.
Take a book, be quiet,
So, like, my addiction started early, and, every Marvel book used to have those blurbs of, check out this issue for what happened. It was like, wait a minute, hold up. I got to find this book. So then it was like pestering, going after it. But I think as an older reader, what it is now is you've kind of seen everything, the tropes. So you're kind of like a junkie. You're looking for your like the feeling of that first high again.
Right.
And you keep searching and searching. And I know when Jennifer Comics Will Break Your Heart and I had our weekly show, we talked about superhero fatigue.
Mm.
So and how you need to kind of step away from it every now and again and just... Where like Black Hammer by Lemire was the perfect thing if you wanted to read a superhero book, but it was a whole different twist.
Right.
And I think indies now, to get everybody on the same level as readers, are the way to go, because everything's new. They're pushing boundaries, where the big two, you're stuck having to work within this framework of the continuity, which I'm a continuity junkie. Right. So like with Tom King's Batman, just go there, like it didn't hit me in the way it hit other people, but like I talked to Bearded Comic Bro, that was the book that brought him back into it. So I have to get the understanding of like every book might be someone's first book, and this is an industry starving for new readers. Yeah. And I had to come to grips with, I don't like something. Maybe it's time to just say, this isn't for me. Give it a break. I quit Batman after 30 years of collecting during that run, because it wasn't for me. Batgirl with the Babs Tarr run with Cameron Stewart and Brendan Fletcher wasn't for me. I had to drop it. It was hard to, but sometimes you just have to get that understanding that maybe the book's just not for you.
Yeah. You are spot on, Dan. I think that the idea of what you just said, where any book could be somebody's first book, says a lot. And I think the thing that I was thinking about during this idea of or at least one of the subtopics of this topic that we're talking about here, is the fact that there are people that are getting into it, and there are others who may put down certain books that they didn't like for various reasons, and not have that in the back of their mind as like a consideration that maybe the book wasn't good for you, but that the book is still good. You know, maybe it does copy something from the past, but for a new reader like myself, less than 3 years really diving into comic books, you know, a lot of stories to me are brand new. So me reading Batman, all this stuff's new. Some of the characters, I have no idea who some of the characters are. I'm learning them for the first time. Whereas other people might say, oh, those characters are overused. Those characters are used too much. I'm getting bored of those characters. We need some new characters. You know, it's for me, it's tough to hear that, because, and I'll use the example of Joker. I've talked about, you know, I really enjoy Joker. I know there are some people in the community who are not fond of currently where the character Joker is going and how often the character Joker is being used. But again, for me personally, I haven't read a lot of Joker. So something I wanted to point out is that I really enjoy it. To me, this is a new Joker story. And so I think it's something to, I guess, just consider, and you know, just consider this, I guess, that there are these new readers, to your point, Dan, of that this could potentially be somebody's first read for the very first time.
I just had that philosophy change in the last couple of months of like,
oh yeah,
trying to wrap my head, like, why are people loving this where I'm not? And then, you know, talking to Bearded Comic Bro just in chat on Instagram, where I was like, what is it? And he was like, this book brought me in. And I was like, okay, like it kind of changed my mindset. And I've always talked about like young reader books. You need more of those to bring in younger readers. Where Fortnite would have been the best book to get young readers in, but no, spec people had to come in and buy them all up to flip.
Right.
Yeah, that has happened too.
Yeah, that has happened. And just going back to Batman, you know, like as I said, you know, behind the scenes, you know, I'm not a big DC guy. The only guy that I've really ever got into was Batman, and it was off and on. But what got me back into Batman more than I ever thought was the whole Volume 3 Tinian. You know, when he came back, you know, with that storyline, you know, I know Justin was doing, you know, his book club. Your first episode was actually on Tinian, and to me, that brought me back. Like, Batman to me was like, yeah, Batman, whatever. It was like Superman, Batman, whatever. But then when I read that, you know, because I was collecting the volume, you know, and reading it off and on, because I wanted to get into it. I wanted to, like, I wanted to see what this whole DC world was about. You know what I mean? But then when Tinian started, right, that's when I was like, oh man, this is pretty dope. Like, DC can actually put out some really good stuff, you know. And I continued reading it, but I do say that, you know, there is a change in a lot of characters, and a lot of people, like what you said with Joker, you know. But I like where Joker's going now. You know what I mean? I've always, you know, had like an affinity with Joker. You know what I mean? I always thought Joker was just a cool character overall. You know, there've been times where they kind of fucked up on him. You know what I mean? Yeah, they like you said, they kind of like beating a dead horse. You know, basically with Joker. But you know, with this new Joker coming back, you know, I thought, you know what? I like it. I gave it a chance. You know, and I like where it's going now. You know what? I'm not gonna be like super excited about it, but I can read it, is what I'm saying. I will read it, and it's true what Dan was saying. I mean, you hit it right on. To go back to that, this is, if somebody's reading something that we've read in the past, like it happens to me a lot. You know, when I see people post books that has been in my collection for 20 plus years, and to them it's brand new. You know, to them it's like, yo, check this out. This is awesome, and I'm like, yeah, okay, it's good. I'm like, okay, yeah, cool. You know what I mean?
It's not a big deal because you've been around it for a while. It's like living near New York City or in New York City. Other people travel and they're like, oh, amazed.
42nd Street. Oh my God.
And to you, you're just like, it's the city. Like I've been there all the time.
Stinks. You see the crackheads, like, who cares? You know what I'm saying? But it is true though. You know, it makes a lot of sense, and it helps you kind of like reappreciate. And going back to that. But go ahead, Dan. What you got?
Well, like I even we did a book club and Justin read Saga the Swamp Thing for the first time. So like getting someone like fresh on a classic is kind of a good feeling, and someone saying like, hey, I enjoyed this. Like, I guess as an older reader, that's our job to be like, hey, if you like this, why don't you check this out?
Definitely.
You guys have turned me into a big fan now. I mean, I'm reading the new Swamp Thing.
Justin, I know you was reading that. I didn't know that.
It's definitely changed a lot. I actually want to continue reading the Alan Moore stuff just on where we left off. But I'm loving the new stuff. That made me want to explore the new stuff, like the Ram B stuff.
Look at what Hickman did with X-Men on that relaunch. Like he kept everything how it should be, but changed the script on it and just made this whole new mythology, which you got to be creative, kind of like what Donny Cates did with Venom. Venom was the Joker of Marvel.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Good point. I want to touch on a couple of comments that I had seen here, and I appreciate everybody. We got 26 people hanging out with us, guys. Appreciate you all.
Salute to everybody in the building.
Absolutely. So Fable says, I hear people talk down on Future State, but it's the series that got me into DC.
Okay.
It's a great comment, a great point, because I too have heard these both sides of this. People bashing on Future State for one reason or another. Obviously, it's a totally different world or a futuristic world. And so they're trying these new things. But I know some people just dismissed it, didn't want anything to do with it. And for whatever the reason may be, I mean, they're not wrong to do that. But it is cool that it did its job, at least for Fable here, to get into that. And same with me. I started reading DC as Future State stuff was coming out. I actually just gave it a chance, partially because I knew that you didn't have to know anything from the past. You could just jump in. So to me, as a new reader, it was perfect, to really explore that.
Caused excitement, got people talking.
Right.
I was like not interested. I tried to pick up a few books, some titles. I saw some tie-ins, and I'm just like, you know what? I'm out, tapped out.
Hey, and it doesn't, either it catches you or it doesn't, but at least for some that it definitely does help.
Exactly.
I still encourage DC to try these things. I feel like there are some people who don't want DC to try these things. And you got to remember that one of their jobs is to get new readers involved. And so they're going to try new things to do that.
I'm going to tell you right now, indie is doing it. The indie market, it is doing it. It's like every week there's like freaking 10 new titles coming out.
Aftershock is killing it right now.
Loving Aftershock.
Killing it, man.
Unruly talks about indies here. He says, I prefer indies. He said, but the right writer can make the wheel come around on any of the other characters. So that's true.
Hell yeah. I definitely agree with that. I mean, just what Dan said, Donny Cates, all these people, Hickman, they revamp, entire universes. And it's amazing what they've done,
Yeah. Steve here saying, I agree with Justin. As a new reader coming back, I'm open to read tons of different titles, but totally understand older readers who are looking for something new. Yeah, that was a good analogy that you made, Dan, of just kind of looking for that itch of, you read something amazing. Maybe it was 10 years ago or however long ago, and you're just like, I feel like I haven't read anything as good as that since then. So I see that perspective too of kind of being let down from a lot of these different things that sure they're new, sure they're a little different, or they're copying some things, but they're just either way, they're just not doing it for you in that sense.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like you just sit there and you're like, okay, like I started questioning, like, why do I not like it? And all these other people like it. And I kept coming to it's not staying true to the character I know, but for these other people coming in, like they wanted, Batman, Bruce Wayne having this giant, like basically therapy over almost 70 issues.
Mm. Yeah, right.
Yeah. See, my itch that was scratched was when they came out with Immortal Hulk, because I'm such a big Hulk fan. Hulk is my number one. That's my number one is Hulk. And when Immortal Hulk came out, I felt like I was 16 again. You know what I mean? It just brought me back into that mind state of that hunger of just every book I just was anticipating when it was coming out. It was like, come on, I need this book to come. I need to know what happened next. I need to find out, the rest of the storyline. And I think to me, it was Immortal Hulk that really brought me back into like saying, you know what? I'm gonna give all these other books a chance and just try these and dip, dabble into little areas there and see what catches me, like Immortal Hulk did. But to this day, it's like that's like my go-to now. Like I'm always waiting. And also, Bitterroot was one that also from I'm a big Bitterroot fan. I love the concept. I love the idea of it. And Sanford Green, that's the homie. So definitely salute to Sanford Green.
Yeah.
But yeah, and Chuck Brown. But yeah, definitely. Those two books right there were the ones that really scratched that itch for me. That I was just like, man, this is what I needed. And it made me hungry again.
Yeah. I mean, I guess Immortal Hulk's another one kind of where they took this character and threw it in a different storytelling environment, altogether.
I had a friend of mine, actually, I believe Jay Bass. He was one that was he was on the show a while back, and he was telling me, like, when I first spoke to him about it, he was like, I'm not sure because I don't like where they're going with it, and then he gave it a chance. And now, he's picking it up, so it's just, it's to each his own, I guess. And, and I think that it's fair to just give something a chance, even if you don't pick it up physically, go digitally, see what it's all about, and if you don't like it, hey, move on to the next,
Yeah, that's fair. Some really awesome comments here too. I appreciate everybody hanging out. We got 30 people hanging with us right now. Paul Morris says, as a longtime huge X-Men fan, I was excited and Hickman Hickman taking the reins. But honestly speaking, I've been underwhelmed. Hawks and Pox were solid, but after that, shoulder. I mean,
I could agree.
But it's got to be tough, right? I imagine, being a writer or whatever, it's got to be tough to, especially try to come up with this new world. Essentially, I know a lot of people who not a lot of people, but I know some people who were angry or are angry at where X-Men is right now and the direction that it's gone in with Krakoa and all them living on the island and things like that. And they just don't like it. Which I mean, if you don't like it, I mean, it kind of goes back to Dan what you're saying. Like, if it's just not for you right now, or you give it up, But me personally, it's made me an even bigger X-Men fan than I was. So it's doing its job in a way, right?
It was a great jumping on point.
Right,
really
totally.
Was.
Right.
Absolutely. I didn't read anything before that other than obviously the Claremont stuff. But, then I took this long break. I think I read 6 issues right before Hoxpox. Just someone had told me just maybe to read some of that stuff, even though technically I didn't even need to read that. But yeah, it's really just a good jumping on point. So, and I don't know. I've heard mixed feelings. I know some people who are loving X-Men right now, and obviously there's a lot of titles, but certain titles maybe you're loving, and certain titles maybe you're not. But either way, yeah, no, great point. I mean, to each their own in this aspect of things.
Yep.
Let me ask you this, guys. If you what are your thoughts on the idea of characters that we know and love and are very familiar with that have been around for years? What are your general thoughts of them being changed by the publishers or by the writers? And by changed, it can be anything from some of their backgrounds, some of their powers, some of their partners and connections, any different direction. I mean, we could talk about race and religion and things like that too, because there are ones that are being changed or shifted, in a lot of different directions. So generally speaking, Morbius, I'll send this to you. What are your initial thoughts just on that aspect of things?
I mean, even hate to go back to Immortal Hulk, but that's just like a perfect example right there, where they revamped the character. They went dived into the whole abusive father, where a lot of us were like, okay, yeah, we get it, been there, done that. But then when they took it now to the one below, when they went down to the devil and they took it down to another realm of where this came from, of where the seed that, that became, you know, the person that we see where that seed came from. It's like, oh, okay. So to me, what I'm trying to say is it's okay as long as it's done right, as long as it's written correctly, and there's a connection there that can be made with the general audience. What I don't like is when they just single out a specific audience and then they try to turn it into this like political, you know, agenda. And, you know, that's where I have a problem, you know, when they do these type of things where they're just catering to this market where they feel that, you know, they're going to get like a okay stamp from this, you know, how can I say it? Like, you know, category or society, part of our society, right? Audience. And to me, that's what I don't like. When you just make it general and just say, hey, this is what we're doing. And we're not going to say this is, you know, either this is for you guys. You know what I mean? We're doing this for you guys. Like that, I don't like. You know what I mean? Because now now you're singling out everyone else that could possibly pick up the book and enjoy it. But now it's like, no, it's not for me. You're more writing for this, you know, for these people or for them or for him or for her, you know, and that's where I get turned off at, you know. So it all goes back to how you present the character, how you write the character and the universe within that character, you know, that is presentable to everybody, not just, you know, a single-minded, you know, agenda behind it. You know, that's how I feel. What about you, Dan?
So my feeling is if you're going to make changes, make it feel organic.
Right.
Like Miles Morales, I think, is probably the best example of we're going to introduce a new Spider-Man, but we're not going to like race bend or whatever you want to call it. Exactly. Like we're introducing this new character. Peter Parker is going away. And, you know, you brought this, you know, I think he's Dominican. I don't remember.
He's I believe he's half black, half Puerto Rican.
Okay. So you bring in this multi-race child, and now you have a whole new audience, and you brought him in organically. Your older crowd actually dug the character right away because you brought it in organically. You set it up and went into it, where it didn't just kind of happen like the Jane Foster Thor, which I like, but when they introduced it, it was like, oh, by the way, here it is. We're going to explain later.
Yeah, exactly.
A little force thrown in.
Exactly. You know, I totally agree.
I wanted to highlight a couple other comments here. Gore Vidal, welcome, buddy. He says, for anyone born before 1980, comics and illustrated magazines were part of one's childhood. They were everywhere. 7 and 10-year-olds read them side by side. 40-year-olds. He said that era has passed. Yeah, I mean it's a different world, that's for sure, and the way we read comics is completely changed now too. I know one other another topic that I come to my mind with this particular topic is the idea of how, I mean, I love reading digital comics, and I know that obviously digital was not around, 10, 20, 30 years ago or however long, but for me it's been a tremendous game changer in a positive way to allow me to read more books, essentially. Read more books, read old books, afford books. It just allowed me to do all that. I know that there are some that stand by, I'm not reading digital, I'm not doing that. Books are made to be read physically, yada, yada. And it's not everybody, but these are things I've heard. But I think that that's a kind of a closed mindset in a sense to say something like that. I think that, at the end of the day, you read how you want to read, you take on this hobby how you want to take on this hobby. But I do think that there are positives to every aspect of it, and that there shouldn't, it shouldn't be taken away. I don't think that, it's I know there is the argument of the fact that can digital destroy the hobby? Can we go so far as, what if they stop printing books? I've heard this question be asked. If they stop printing books, then is that going to destroy the hobby? Will it ever get to that? Obviously we're going to have all the old books still that'll always be around, and collectors who will want these old books. So I don't, in that sense, I don't think, and I personally don't see it ever falling to that. And you guys know me, I buy my books too. So it's not like I'm, sure. I do both. So you're downloading, and I literally go out of my way to read digitally, but I want to own the book because that's the kind of person I am. I like to own, the thing, so that is something else to kind of point out. And Morbius, I don't know if you want to elaborate a little bit on your thoughts of digital versus. I
said it before, in the conversation where I will go digital platform to look at stuff that is new but I'm not ready to pick it up yet because I don't want to spend the money on something that I'm gonna kick myself later reading, and then I'm like, I don't like this shit. And then now it's sitting in my box, and I just spent, you know, $5 on it for no reason. You know, so I am gonna read something digitally, and if I like it, I will pick up the book. You know, and then I'll continue most likely reading it physically. You know what I mean? That's just the way I go about it. There's nothing wrong with no one else going about it, but this is the way I do it, only because that's just the way my background is. I grew up physical. Everything was physical. We read it physically, you buy it physically, and it's just conditioned. You know, where I had, as you know, talking to you and building with you for so long, I wasn't on the digital thing until just recently, where I was like, you know what? Let me give it a shot. Let me at least use it as a platform where if it's something I like, I pick it up if it's new. You know what I mean? And so that's what I'm doing now. You know, for the last, I would say maybe, I'm not even gonna lie, guys. I'm gonna be real honest with you guys. For the last less than a year, I've gave digital a chance. And digital has helped me out. It has helped me out because it has kept me from buying books that eventually I would have regret buying. You know, because I've read some stuff that I'm just like, I'm not into that. It's just not, it doesn't do it for me.
So it's a good thing that you explored it. So then you don't have to go buy it or whatever.
I mean, I got plenty of books here that I regret. You know, I got the miscellaneous box. It's about two long
classic miscellaneous.
It's like two long boxes full of fucking crap. That and me being the hoarder, I'm never gonna let it go. I'm gonna take it to the grave with me. So it's like
the misfit books.
You know what I'm saying? So I want to avoid another long box. So that's why I'm like, I'm gonna do the digital, and there's nothing wrong with it. You know, I feel that it's a good thing. And to be honest with you, I use the bootleg, you know, digital. You know, I don't pay for it. You know, I gotta keep deleting the ads. I just gotta keep cutting the ads. You know, my wife sometimes thinks I'm on a porn site. You know,
what are you downloading there, Morbius?
You know, with the bro on all squished up, and I'm like, babe, it's a comic site. And she's like,
a comic site.
That's the new thing now. Where you get that from Justin? You know, he put you onto that.
Oh, great.
You know? But no, you know, seriously, it's funny. Like, you know, but to me, I think it has this, you know, usefulness, and to each his own, man. If you just want to go digital, may God bless you. But me personally, I need my physical books. You know, I need to have my books. I need to, you know, every once in a while, pull them out, go through them, read them. You know, as some people tell me, don't do that, you know, whatever, keep them preserved. But I read my books.
You do your thing.
I pull them out. I don't give a fuck. I read my stuff.
Yeah.
So
no, it sounds good. It's a balance for you.
It's a balance.
You explored it,
and it helps me save money. Believe it or not, it really helps.
That's always a plus.
And keep these, you know, books out that I don't want. But Dan, how about you?
I use digital to supplement the stuff because this is going to go down a real dark corridor here. My LCS is terrible. I will order stuff. They will not get it or forget to order it. Yeah. He goes on CBSI before the store opens and lists books on eBay and takes them off the shelf so you never get them or in your folder.
Yeah.
Yes, my store is a flipper. So I use it to supplement. I get some physical. I special order through another company. So to be able to review stuff, I'm buying digital, even stuff I'm getting in physical, so I can do it that week. So going into the whole flipper thing now, like, I think it hurts the hobby because it's stopping people from getting books in their hands that they want to read. That's all they want to do is read it. They're not even getting it to flip.
Exactly. Right. You know, I really feel like, to be honest with you guys, like, I mean, Justin, we've spoken about this. We've had a show on flippers, you know what I mean? And it really irritates me, you know, when I see guys, you know, that they're just ecstatic about posting 20 issues of the same damn book. And it's like, bro, like, for real, like, is that seriously necessary to pick up 20 issues of that book, you know? And then it's like, for what? Like, you, and then it's not even like in the phone.
I think we lost Morbius. Oh man, he was just getting on a roll. We were about to get morbed out, and now he's frozen. Kind of a palms up here.
That's his prayer moment.
Maybe we'll get him back here in a second. By the way, we got 26 people hanging. Appreciate all you guys hanging out in the chat right now. I'm trying to get through a lot of the different comments. I appreciate a lot of the things I'm trying to highlight here, just to kind of give some props to everybody who is sharing their thoughts and opinions. We do always appreciate that. There he is for a sec.
I'm back.
Hey, yeah, you froze.
That was me. Okay.
Yeah,
I'm back. All right. Sorry about that. Sorry.
It's all good.
It's the government. They're tapping in. They do this all the time to me.
You know, what I mean? They're still mad.
Keeping tabs on me. They're upset at me.
They heard those websites you're getting on. That's what it is.
That's what you see. They were like, "Oh, he's not paying for
that. Let's shut him down."
Exactly. But you know, it's to me that find it hilarious. You know, when they buy so many books, and it's like, dude, it's not even a key. It's like just something that is just randomly spoken about that possibly could go somewhere, and you just spent all this money on all these books to just go nowhere with them, you know. And that's one aspect of it. But the other thing, I like what Dan was saying, man. It's like, bro, not give a chance to somebody who really wants to read this book, you know. And I've said it many times. If I ever catch somebody at any shop doing that, I'm gonna check you. I'm gonna tap you on the shoulder and be like, bro, like, for real? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, is that necessary? You know, right. and I know that seems pretty harsh and pretty straightforward, but hey, that's just my nature. You know what I mean? I'm so adamant and passionate about this that it's like, dude, that's not right. Because I know so many people who come in the shop and they're like, oh man, this book is no longer. It's like, I've been there. You know, I've seen guys like, oh man, like really, like, oh man, I really wanted to pick this up. You know, I'm you know, following the story. You know, whatever. You know, as we all do. And this, to me, it's just messed up. You know, when they do that, and it's just like, for what? You know what I mean? It's like, it's really not necessary. And I didn't grow up with that. I didn't grow up with the whole flipper concept. Like, I didn't grow up with the CGC. That's why, to me, CGC is a big scam. You know, I didn't grow up with none of this shit. You know what I mean? Because, Come on, we all know it's a scam. So, you know, so it's like, you know, to me, it's so unnecessary. You know, the whole concept of just buying up all these books to just say, I have all these books, and then you're going to go to eBay, and then you're going to sell them for 10 times what they're worth. You know, and it's like, and it's a bullshit book that's not even a freaking key. It's just one big speculation that it ain't going nowhere eventually, you know, because as we know, when it comes to spec, it's very hit or miss. You know what I mean?
Can you hit Chris Lopez's comment?
This one?
One of the last ones.
I'm way behind on the comments here. Hold on, I'll jump down. 7:50.
Sorry, I was rambling, guys. There.
No, you're good. We've been like 20 minutes behind our comments. We always are, though. That's our show.
So I have no problem with guys who pre-order 20 copies, but I do know people in the community who I see post on Instagram and other places that do hit 3 to 7 shops.
Yes.
And clean them out.
Yes. That's that. Yes. You see, and that's something that I told Justin about. That, you know, if you ever look, one thing with me, I always get, and that's just me. I get 1 copy, but if you ever see me with 2 or 3 copies, it was because, like you said, either it was pre-ordered or I went to, because I have about 5 shops that I go to. That I have 3 shops that I pull from, and I got 5 shops that I'm exclusively go to. So if you see me with multiple comics, it's because I buy 1 at one shop, 1 at another shop, 1 I have it pulled. So I'll be like, hey, pull this book for me here, pull this book for me here, pull this book for me here. And that's how I have my 2-3 books. And the reason why I have them is because I just want to have them, because to me, I'm giving my books to my kids. Right. You know, so if this is an opportunity for them, like I did with the recent Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, you know what I mean? The whole storyline with not Raphael. Man, Jesus Christ, I'm all over the place.
Jesus Christ. Oh wow.
Yes, The Last Ronin. You know, those are books like that. I know I always pick up multiple copies, but I always ask my comic shops that it's like, hey, I just want 1 from you. Give me 1 here. Give me 1 here. So if my kids ever got to get rid of 1 or 2, they still have 1 for themselves to always have in their collection. You know, and that's my thing. You know what I mean? I want them to have books to keep, but I also want them to have those good books to be able to get rid of if they get in a bind, help them, get their mortgage paid, whatever. You know, I really don't care once I'm gone, but that's my goal. That's why I do what I do. And that's how my, strategy is, that I just go 1 shop at a time and get a book from them. I'm not picking up 5 books from 1 shop, 5 books from another shop, 5 books from another one. I'm not doing that.
So I think that, some of this talk, and I know we touched on this before, but some of this talk with, you mentioned like seeing somebody post 20 books, so the same issue. I think some of it does depend on if you're talking about old books or new books. I think that I disagree when it comes to older books, simply for the fact that we don't know how they got them. We don't know the situation behind why they have them. Even, and I'm talking, books that have been out 20 plus years already, nothing that's right on the shelves right now, but things that have been out for years, and you see people that are slowly buying these up, and for whatever reason, whether it be spec purposes or they just love that book for whatever reason. I think that at that point, and talking things that have been out for a long time, that they have the right to do that. Again, if I use this example in the last time that we talked about this, but if you were looking in a dollar bin box, a random box of just old stuff, nothing new, and it's open for anybody, and you came across 10 copies of Hulk 181 in the dollar bin. I know, Morbius, you had shared a little bit of how you thought of this, Morbius. Dan, let me ask you this: if you found 10 in the dollar bin, would you buy them all?
100%. I'd call one of my boys first and ask if he needed any.
Exactly.
But he literally would get 1 to 2 of them if I found 10 of them.
Right. I was going to say, it's not like you're doing it and giving them 9 of them. Either way, you're still cleaning them out. You're still going to clean them out. Because why? Because that's money. You essentially just found something that's so much more than what it's worth, obviously mispriced. And I believe, Morbius, on the last time we chatted, you said that you would not buy all 10. No, if you found them in the dollar bin.
I wouldn't.
I'll
grab about 5 of them.
But so what's the difference between 5 and 10?
Well, because I want the next guy to get them.
You could say that about 9. You could say that about 9. You could buy, but the next guy might not be as good as you are in terms of a good-hearted person. But now you're letting the scumbag buy it. You know what I mean? So what? Then you're gonna let
the scumbag ain't getting 10.
Well, what's the difference? There's no difference.
Scumbag ain't getting 10.
He's getting half of that.
5. I'll call my boy and be like, "Yo, bro, you want 1 or 2? Because I got there's 10 of them. Oh, you want 1? You want 1? You want 1?" And that's what I'm doing. Exactly what Dan said. I'll be calling up my people. I'll be calling you, Justin.
That's fine. No, that's fine that you do that. But I'm saying you would still buy them. You would still buy them. You wouldn't not buy them. You wouldn't buy. You would not buy more than. You wouldn't buy just 1. You would buy more than 1. And that's my point of what I'm getting at. You would buy more than 1, but that goes against what you were just saying about buying multiple copies. When you see a guy going that you check him like, yo, why are you buying all these copies for?
No, I'm talking about a new, like off the shelf, new books that somebody.
Oh, okay. So new. Okay.
I'm not talking. No. I'm talking about new books off the shelf that.
So if you saw me grabbing 10 of something old in the back bins, but it was 10 copies of it, you're not gonna say a word to me about it.
Nah, you know what? Because you should have been had them. That's how I see it. Because I'm pretty sure whatever you grab it, I got it. So
what if I have it anyway? So now I just have 10 more now.
Well, that's you. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because this old issue, that's back issues. You know what I mean? Back issues are always going to be there. Then
that's fine, because you didn't clarify that, but that's fine. I initially was just thinking you were just talking people that post books, 10 copies, 20 copies. I see people posting like keys, like giant size X-Men's. They got 5 of them. Yeah. But is that okay, or is that
older
not
books
okay?
Fine? It's the new books off the shelf where I'm kind of like, that's kind of.
But Dan, even to your point of like speculate, you're talking about speculation in general, or at least your initial topic. You brought up speculation. Yeah. So speculation obviously can fall into old books as well, and I do know that people complain about speculation in that aspect too. If I'm a collector who wants to collect a run of something, and then out of nowhere, I want to get all of Captain America. And then out of nowhere, Captain America shows up on TV. And now all these other little issues go from dollar bin books to $500 book or $30 books or whatever. That aspect I also hear too, where it's like, well, I hate speculation because now I can't fill my run because they're all being bought out. And so that goes to your point for old books. So it's one thing I'm just.
For me, flipping is the right off the shelf flipping.
Yes.
At least in my mind.
Okay. Well, that people are doing this with old books too, though, right? I mean,
to a certain degree. I know Bronze Keys started like ROM number 1 was one that started disappearing, which, funny enough, was one over the years I collected and kind of. If I saw number 1 out in the wild, Wolverine, the first limited series, the Claremont Miller. Whenever I see them out in the wild, I'll pick them up because I think they're grossly underpriced.
Right. That's fair. And I'm just pointing out some other aspects of this, ultimately, that there are obviously those other ways that people speculate. There are ways that people don't like that or it's frowned upon, but it's happening. And it can affect collectors, even though these books have been out for 20 years. I mean, even like Hulk 181, just talking about that again. If I'm trying to fill my Hulk run, You know, and I'm a newer collector. I'm just getting into it, but that's my goal. And it's like, oh my God, now these speculators are just making this book go higher and higher and higher. It's just like, you know, like that's frustrating to certain people too. You know, from what I've heard.
I mean, like we said, this was going to be perspective philosophy. Like
Totally.
Everybody has their own perspective on what.
Oh, yeah.
So like
100%, yeah.
We're not playing like devil's advocate here. It's just how we see things. So like, don't take offense to what we're saying. We're not making an argument. No. We're just having an open discussion.
If anything, I'm playing devil's advocate. I am throwing these things out to just kind of mention other point of views, you know?
Just to the chat, because I saw some things saying, you know, change bad, you know, stuff like that. And
right.
You know, at the end of the day, also, you know, let's just be honest, you know, we're not going to satisfy everybody's opinion. We're not going to be here and everybody's, you know, everybody's going to have their way. And no matter what we say, regardless if we said it like in the beginning, we're not experts. We're just here sharing our ideals, our own opinions based on our history as collectors and readers, you know, so we're not experts at all. But at the end of the day, you know, what we say, it might rub somebody the wrong way. You know, it might cause a little friction on how somebody sees things based on what we're saying. But at the end of the day, this is why we have these debates, why we're so transparent about it. You know, what he's saying.
Yeah, here's a good point to also what you're saying, Dan. Gino's saying the argument I hear constantly is, well, if you wanted to read it, you would have pre-ordered it. Except that doesn't account for people who are just walking in and wanting to try stuff out, different titles. That's a great point too. I know that's usually the answer is, well, why don't you pre-order something if you really wanted the book? But there are people who are they're new and they're just trying to get into it. They have no
idea about pre-ordering or don't know where to pre-order.
And then they trade weight.
Yeah. Right. Well, yeah.
Right. You know, so
I just want to highlight that.
So this is why we have these discussions here, because we want to, you know, touch on things and kind of like, you know, bring other things to light that normally people, like we were saying, that just don't really like to speak on because they're afraid to, you know, rub somebody the wrong way or feel they're going to offend somebody. And it's not like that, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, change scary. Hey, you know, flippers of cash, not comics. Yeah, pretty much. You know what I mean? Pretty much.
The interesting thing about this comment, you know, is, and I just point this out because there are people in this hobby who are flippers, who I also consider my friends and are very knowledgeable about this hobby. They bring a lot to the table, to the community, and have a lot of different views on things. But with a comment like this, it's just interesting that, I mean, I know some people who they flip so that they can afford books that are very expensive.
I know people who flip currents for Silver Age or Bronze Keys.
Right. So that's not that they love cash, but it's that they love books that happen to be thousands of dollars and they just can't comfortably pay for that. So instead, if they find a $1,000 book in the dollar bin, they'll take that and flip it. And that's their mentality of affording that book.
Remember, we were saying there's a difference between seller and flipper, right?
Oh, totally.
So then that's where
but that was still a flip. I mean, that's still flipping.
It's still flipping. Yeah, it is a flipping in the sense of flipping, but they're not, unless, to me, a flipper is someone who's taking advantage of the game, taking advantage of the seller.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's a true essence of a flipper to me.
Yeah.
Everyone else is a seller. You know what I mean? And that's how I see it. You know, because if you look at it, you know, a comic book store, they're flippers. If you want to look at it in that sense of a word.
Totally. 100%.
They're flippers, you know, but
that's why I feel like we should get away from the word flipper and just use the word scumbag.
It depends on how you're going about it.
Because they're not flipper, you know, like if a person is doing something for really mean reasons, take advantage of somebody, they're not flippers, they're scumbags, you know, they're trying to take advantage.
Yeah, right, exactly. They need to get punched in the face.
I feel like we're giving flippers a bad name, I guess is what I'm saying. Because there are good people out there who flip.
Right. And like you said,
that's my main point.
Right. And this, like we said, you know, it's the whole concept behind that is, like, to me, was the whole taking advantage. You know what I mean? That's where the problem comes in with flipping, and also, you know, not giving the opportunity to someone else to have that, you know, for the same way you got that. You know what I mean? That's how I see it, you know, when it comes to books, and especially new books. You know, that's where my problem lies. But outside of that, you know, getting back to what we were talking about as far as like you know, old heads, new reader, old reader. You know, it to me that all falls into the same basket. You know, because I've dealt with guys who are doing what we've been doing for so long, and they don't read books. All they do is just, you know, CGC their stuff, put it online, and that's it. You know, and you would think like guys of that age would have a different concept or a different way of collecting, and they don't. You know, it's very, you know, modern way of collecting or modern way of going about it, you know.
Right.
What it says, Jesus.
Oh, because earlier you were trying to think of the Ninja Turtle and you said Jesus Christ, and I reacted, Jesus Christ, he's part of the Ninja Turtle.
Yeah. Oh,
that's me.
But I will say, there's nothing better than going to a shop or a flea market or to a show and digging for gold.
Totally.
Oh, like nothing better.
Yeah, agree.
The best feeling ever. You know what I mean? And you know that's why one of the best things. Big John in the building. One of the best things about hunting and digging is that right there. That's why I'm very adamant about the hunt. I'm very adamant about digging.
That experience is like
that experience of taking the time. Yeah, me, I'm allergic to dust. So I know every time I go out, I take my allergy pills, you know, the day before. So I know that I'm not going to be there sneezing all over books and people next to me, you know.
This man, he risks his life to go hunt for the hunt.
Come on.
That's the diehard commitment that Morbius has, which I love.
Take my adrenaline shot. You know what I mean?
Have an EpiPen ready to go.
I got my EpiPen. I'm ready, people. You know, but no, it's just like, that's just, you know, the thrill of the hunt I think is the best thing about it. To me, you know, it's just, I love digging. I love spending time in the shops, you know, going from shop to shop. And not only that, but you run into the same people. It's like a community. You keep running into guys and running in, you know, and it's just building relationships. And you get knowledgeable by doing this because you run into people who put you on to things. And they're like, hey, did you see this? Or did you check this out? Hey, have you ever? And you're like, nah, I never knew about that. Oh, here it is right here. You know, and you're like, oh, shit. You know, so it's so dope about being around people when you're out there digging. You know, that's why I'd rather go out and spend, you know, half a day just digging than being on the phone and scrolling through it, you know, and that's easy. I mean, I'm not going to say I don't do it. Of course I do, you know, when I'm not able to go out, but I'd rather go out and dig for the book than go run and pay, you know, 2-3 times as much for it. I might get lucky and find it cheaper. Like Justin, you just did that recently.
Yeah.
And, you know, when I saw that protest and, you know, and you pulled it out, I was just like, bro, how much you paid for that? The X-Men?
For the Proteus? Proteus. Yeah, the X-Men, the 126. It was 126.
Right, 126.
That was like $12 or something.
Look at that. You know, and on eBay, that thing is easy, you know, $80, $100, whatever it is. I haven't checked that. I don't you know, and that's another thing too. I don't understand. I'm not into valuing because I don't value them. I just buy books because I want them in my collection. You know, these are things that are very nostalgic to me and I want to finish my runs. So that's why I pick up books. I don't understand, like, to me, when people be like, oh man, that book is so valuable. And I'm like, really? I didn't know that. I just know that it's a dope ass story. I love the artist and I just want it in my PC. Right. You know what I mean? I don't really have that concept of value anymore. You know,
I got to ask, when you go on the Grail hunt, or do you bring a list of your Grails or books you're looking for when you go?
I have all my lists. You know, I have my CLZ app, you know, and I have my list of all the books that I have my like top 30 books that I have, you know, in my notes of books that I have to keep an eye out for. And it varies from everywhere, from horror, you know what I mean, to everywhere, you know. Mm-hmm. And these are books that I just want in my PC that I never got a chance growing up to get them. So now I must have. These are must-have books. So I'm always looking out for them. And I also write books that other people are looking for, because there's a few people that I know that, you know, they mention stuff and I'm like, hey, I'll add it to my list. And if I find it, I'll send it to you. You know, so those are things that I have my secondary list, which is not such a big list, but I do have a list. Like, Justin, did you ever get that Ghostwriter Timeless?
I think I did. I
found the Ghostwriter Timeless?
Yeah, I think I want to say somebody sent it to me.
Send it to you? Okay. All right. Because I still had that on my list. I was like, I know I've been keeping an eye out for that.
Yeah, now I have to double check because I'm not sure.
All right. Yeah, let me know if you don't, because if I do run into it, you're ready.
I appreciate you, man. So a couple things. So we're coming up on time. We got about 4 minutes left here before we close things, or before we hit the hour point. So I do want to give Dan a little bit of time to kind of share what's going on. Before I do, I actually want to send this question to Dan. Dan, what are your thoughts on this comment here? Dave from the UK says, when I began collecting 6 months ago, I asked a veteran for advice. He said, make the hobby pay for itself. I'm buying all 10 of those damn 181s.
If I bought all of them, I would go into the scam of CGC, as Morbius called it. I'm sending them all in and keeping 1 to 2 for my PC, and I'm selling the rest.
Okay.
And that would probably buy my Amazing Spider-Man 121.
Get all the keys that you want.
I would reinvest it in keys.
It's like trading, basically. Yeah.
So yes, you can make the hobby pay for itself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a retard.
It's tough. No, it's tough. It's tough with this because, as you just said, yes, you can make the hobby pay for itself. It's tough because in order to do so, you have to encourage what's the word? I was going to say prospecting. We were just talking about it. My mind is blank. Spec. Yeah. I don't know why I was thinking of P. Yeah. You have to encourage speculation to some degree, I think
long-term spec is fine. Every image number one.
This is where that gray line is, because you're right. I mean, to a degree, but someone who's really against spec might even say, no, that ruins it too. You know what I mean? There's all these gray areas, I think, ultimately, for this kind of thing.
And that all goes back real quick, guys. I know we're going to end it. It all goes back to your own personal preference of how you collect.
Yes.
All three of us here have different ways of collecting, but at the end of the day, we are all happy with how we collect and what we collect. And that's what's important. So make sure that you guys always keep that in mind. Everybody in the chat, everybody watching. It's not about what we say. It's about how you collect and what you like and what you want in your PC, because that's what's important at the end of the day. So remember that.
Well said. Well said. So as we wrap this up here, then, Dan, let us know a little bit of where the people can find you, and also if you have anything, coming up.
Of course, on my channel, Comic Chop News. You can also find me on my Instagram at comic_chop_news. This Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern, we're doing Ink Panel's Graphic Novel Book Club. It was Gambit's pick, along with Jennifer, Comics Will Break Your Heart, is on our panel. And we're doing a Puerto Rican horror story called Chica Cabra, about a teenage girl who gets possessed by the Chupacabra. It's from IDW by Tom Beeland. So it should be an interesting story. It is dark as hell. I was not expecting it from such a cute-looking cartoony book.
Oh, nice.
Oh,
wow. And then, of course, Tag Team Thursday. On Thursday, I'm at the 7:15 mark. And I have Running with the Devil, the Daredevil show with Comics Kings on 2 weeks from now. We just did one the other night doing Frank Miller's Daredevil. And next Friday, the 28th, I'm going to be on Brandon's channel doing weekly wrap up. And then after that, I have Celluloid and Scotch. We're doing the Mortal Kombat movie.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
Stacked a couple of weeks you got planned there.
Yeah, a little bit.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Well, again, I put all your information in the description below. So anybody who's watching this, whether you're on the replay or watching it live here, make sure you sub up Dan, part of the Tag Team Thursday group. Dan, dude, thank you so much for joining us, man. This was a great topic.
Thanks for having me. This was an interesting discussion. And if you ever need me on again, just let me know.
Oh yeah, sure.
Absolutely, definitely. And I apologize to everybody here that there's a lot of really good comments. If you're watching the replay right now or whatever, take a moment to leave a comment in the actual comment section. We love to hear and address more of these things. I know we always keep it tight, but yeah, Dan's got to run.
Okay.
So go ahead, Dan. You just jump off. We'll close off, brother.
All right, Dan.
Bye. But I just want to say, we had some really great comments, and we always do. We always get great comments in the chat. A lot of great points. Yeah, and I feel bad if we're missing a lot towards the end here.
We get caught up.
Yeah, it's hard. It's really hard to keep these at an hour.
But definitely leave a comment, because we will respond. Yeah. We will get back to you guys, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Sure. So again, we got 25 people still hanging with us. We appreciate you. Make sure you hit that thumbs up.
Thank you so much, man, for real. It's amazing, guys.
Subscribe to this man right here. Put his information, and Dan, who just jumped off. Big shout out to him for joining. So, more. We got to figure out ways that we can incorporate a lot more of these comments at some point. We'll have to figure something out. But
we'll talk about that.
No doubt. Well, we appreciate everybody that's watching. Thank you again so much. Until next time, we'll be back next Tuesday as usual with another fun and exciting and hot topic. So stay tuned for that.
Take care, guys. Everybody. See you on the replay.
Later.
Peace.